All right. Who's there? I can hear you. You're standing behind that bush. Right there. If you have a quarrel with me, come on out, so we can speak face to face. Otherwise, be off with you. I have a beast to finish skinning before my dinner. I prefer no interruptions. Well, well. What is a young one like you doing trailing me this deep into the forest? So I'm guessing you didn't just want a simple hunting demonstration. Pity. I have an inkling about why you followed me. But go ahead. Say your piece. I thought as much. You have found the great inspiring warrior whom you idolize and wish to flatter him into mentoring you. Mentoring in what, exactly? The blade? The bow? Perhaps raw battle with fists? Anything, eh? Well then, you have only yourself to blame. If you leave me such a broad opening in which to teach, I will take full advantage. I'll begin by asking if you have a knife on you. Very good. Pitch in and help me with this carcass, will you please? I've made camp nearby so we can take the meat there when we're finished and have a proper talk. Now, the key to a perfectly balanced seasoning is knowing which herbs are stronger and which are more mild or bland. If you go by equal quantities alone, you'll be heading for disaster. That is why it is so important to know the true nature of each ingredient. Once you have each one organized in your head, an entire world of combinations and possibilities opens up to you. Pluck a few more leaves off that bay plant for me. Yeah, that stem. Right there. I was fortunate enough to discover a patch of them earlier, so I picked quite a few branches and took note of where the remaining ones are in my parchment book. I'm hoping to move to this area, and before I can start my own herb garden, I'll need to know where I can find them in the wild. Thankfully, this entire forest is dotted with all the local ones I could ever wish for. Having time to focus on all the recipes I've never had time to try before is a dream I never thought to achieve. And everything I require to do so is virtually right outside my door. Nature is a wellspring of resources. If one can only take what one needs and leave plenty to flourish and continue giving. You disagree, young one? I see. It would be wise of you to heed my words. If your head is filled with naught but dreams of grandeur won in war, there will be room for little else. You said yourself that you would be grateful for my mentoring in any subject at all. So why the attitude? You must not have truly meant those words. Your sole motivation is to learn the ways of war, from one who has made a name far and wide by demonstrating such skills. I must now disappoint you. Though, from how disinterested and frustrated you seem to be with my cooking lesson, I've already done so. I value honesty, so speak your mind. Do not hold back. Am I close to the mark? Yes. I thought as much. Calm yourself, young one. I may not be a warrior any longer, but I do not appreciate being insulted. Yes, I have indeed laid down my role with the king's army, and I now enjoy picking leaves and cooking good food rather than doing noble deeds, as you call them. But I am in no way accountable to you or anyone else for the choices I make for myself. Please, sit back down and hear me out. If you stomp off in a huff now, you'll never have the answer you seek from me about why a famous warrior wound up picking herbs and cooking in the forest, alone and off the beaten path. That is better. Perhaps there is a spark of teachability in you yet. First off, tell me, have you any ambitions other than to become a warrior? And what does glory in battle mean to you? Does it mean gifts from admirers, medals from the king and trinkets from his lords and ladies? Perhaps fame and fortune in itself? It does not sound to me as if you have thought this through. You can state a goal as clearly as you like, but that does not mean you thoroughly understand what you might gain should you reach that goal, or what you may lose. The path you seek is not as paved with glory as you have imagined. I walked that path for decades. At first they said, "You're a strong lad. You could be an incredible warrior." And I listened without a thought. I trained, I fought, and I rose in the ranks slowly. I was powerful in a fight, a weapon that my generals wielded against our enemies and our allies. And I was happy to be used so. But there was one night in camp when the cook fell ill, and they needed someone to step in. I used to cook with my mother when I was young, but had no need to employ those skills for years. So I volunteered, and suddenly had an entire camp kitchen to supervise and batches of food to cook myself. It all came flooding back to me that night. The excitement of creating each new dish, balancing all the ingredients to produce the most flavourful experience. I'd forgotten what joy it had brought me in my youth, and I slowly realised how many years I'd passed without indulging my passion. When you commit to being a warrior, you ensure exposure to violence and bloodshed and strife. You witness injustice at all levels of humanity, and can only take minimal steps to decrease it. As a chef, however, I've found that I can do more with one delicious meal than all the battles I've ever fought combined. Violence cannot fill the bellies of starving villagers, nor is it a commodity with which to barter peace. But food, even just seasoning itself, can be the difference between war and friendship. Eating is communal on a primal level. Good food can tug a smile from the grimmest face in a crowd and bring the most bitter of enemies together, if only for a time. That is the kind of influence that I wish to have. That is the path I wish to walk for the rest of my days. There is a simple but powerful nobility in crafting enjoyable food for others. And that is why I left my warrior mantle behind me and took up a chef's apron instead. So, feel free to be as disappointed in your hero's softened state as you'd like, young one. But if I could teach you anything, it would be that a life devoid of simple pleasures and passions is hardly a life well lived. If you wish to be a warrior, so be it. But be sure it's not a fantasy that you're chasing, rather than something that will bring you fulfillment. I cannot say that I have met many fellow warriors who believe that fighting alone is their true purpose. I would advise you to think carefully while you have the chance. Meanwhile, I still have this meat to finish seasoning and roasting. It'll take a while, but if you bear my company long enough, we could share a meal together. Perhaps my cooking will help to sway your mind. Food oft does, when words or swords simply cannot.